Welcome back, Crandall ISD. We are here for our episode 7 of Inside Crandall ISD, where we are talking all things, digging into all departments. We have been focusing on early literacy and math, and so today we're going to talk about early math instruction with Danielle Moore. She is our curriculum facilitator for elementary math. So thank you for being here, Danielle.
Yeah, thanks for including me. I'm excited to talk all things elementary math.
It is a fun topic. I like math a lot. I'm just going to ask you 4 questions and then just kind of tell everybody where math is as a district in elementary and then where we're planning on going. So let's start with, why are early math skills so important for long-term academic success?
Early math skills are super important because it's the first thing that the students learn, and math is a progression of learning skills. So you have to lay the foundation of those early math skills that are taught in kinder through 2nd grade to be able to build on them in the upper grades where students start taking state assessments like the STAR test. And moving on to secondary, where they take things like, you know, the tests that are going to get them into college and exit them, SAT, ACT, exit them out of high school and into college. So all that stuff starts in K2, where they learn those foundational math skills.
I agree, and it's like do you feel like, I'm going off a little bit, that it comes more natural for some, and then some we have to really teach those basics or we're going to struggle?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's more about the exposure and what the kids get exposed to with numbers, talking about numbers, manipulating those numbers. If they're exposed to that, those kids kind of have advanced or a head start into those other math skills, where if they're just taught the basic rules of math, like this is how you need to do it and there's no other way, they kind of have a little bit of a disadvantage moving through math.
Absolutely, I can see that. How would you say CISD promotes early numeracy and problem solving in the classroom?
To be honest, we've kind of been on a struggle with that. You know, math, our curriculum has gone through some gap years in adoption, which means our adoption ended in the curriculum that we had been using for so long, and there's 4 gap years there where we get to kind of test out other curriculums before we make that commitment to another curriculum for a long-term period. Also, the state has updated their requirements, and so we used to be able to pick whatever we wanted to. Now the state is saying you can't do that no more. We have combed through all these curriculum companies to make sure they fully align with our visions and values as a state, and so you have to pick from this list now. You can't pick whatever you want to anymore. So we've kind of gone through a transition, I would say, over the last 5-ish years or more, trying to figure out what curriculum is going to be best for Crandall. And so we picked one during our gap years, but what we didn't realize until now is it was missing that early numeracy piece. And it just kind of jumped into a little bit more advanced type mathematics skills. So we finally saw that this year, like, it's missing this. We had to go through a year of, are we just doing it right? And then are we doing it with fidelity and consistently? Knowing that we have been doing all those things, now we see what it's missing. And so it's missing that early numeracy piece for our K2 students and teachers. So to help support that, we've made a purchase of a supplemental through Lead Forward, and it is called Early Numeracy, and it's going to be rolled out the first term of the semester for those K2 kids, and it's just anchoring that foundation of early numeracy with those kids before we jump into our core curriculum.
I like the transparency in saying we struggled with this, but we saw it, and we saw it coming, and we do look at the data and all that piece, because that's what every district's going through, but to be transparent and say, we see this problem, we're going to fix it. So what resources or coaching do our math teachers receive?
So I feel like our department, the curriculum department within Crandall ISD, does a really good job at providing teacher support. We have a lot of people in place. We have our curriculum facilitators, who are kind of the masters of our subject. We have them for every subject. Then we branch off and have instructional coaches that are more on the ground at the campus level, helping the teachers in the moment. We all keep a relay of communication between, I'm going to say, the 3 of us, so the teacher, the instructional coach, and the curriculum facilitators. We meet often. The instructional coaches are at our office once a week, usually on Fridays, and that gives us time to relay information between everyone about curriculum and struggles or needs. So we have a lot of good people in place to support those teachers with what they need. We offer a lot of professional development throughout the year for the teachers. Anytime a teacher on the spot or in between, professional development days and instructional days say, I'm struggling with this, we jump to it, we make videos for them, we have a bank of videos and support of things we made over the years that teachers have access to try to get that instant support with what they need. Teachers have mentor teachers if they're new, so there's another line of support. But I think the biggest thing that has been the most impactful this year, along with our instructional coaches, because that's kind of been an absent piece or a dual role piece where it really wasn't focused on fully. The PLCs that the campuses are doing this year have made a huge difference.
And define for us what a PLC is. What does that stand for?
So a PLC is a professional learning committee. And it's where teachers get together and just focus on their grade level stuff, but also kind of vertically look at their grade level too, above and below, to see if they're struggling with something, what gap might there have been between the grade level before them, and also what do they need to do to prepare the kids after they leave their grade level. So it's a time for them to just dive deep into the curriculum, the lessons, see what the kids are struggling with, what they're doing well with, and kind of help keep that aligned across the board. Campuses have been very intentional about that. There's been some campuses who the teachers have said, we're willing to stay even, outside of our contract hours because they've been so beneficial and to keep that learning going. So campuses have asked myself and our instructional coaches to step in during those PLCs to be that extra line of support, and the data has shown that it's making a difference.
Absolutely, I could see why that would. I just remember doing PLCs in the past, but being intentional about it is the goal, is the key. What's next in terms of growing our early math instruction program?
So we are really excited to bring in the Mathematic Achievement Academies. It is I would say a program that is actually pushed out by TEA, which is the Texas Education Agency. Region 10, which is our Education Service Center, kind of fosters and facilitates those trainings and pushes it out through the districts. So it's not mandatory. We hope the state sees it valuable enough to get it there soon. Reading has reading academies, which are mandatory. So the Mathematic Achievement Academies really focus on anchoring those math foundational skills. I think the biggest benefit that they provide is showing teachers and educators the progression of learning. They have narrowed it down to a science and says, this is the skill you need to teach first before you can move on to this skill and that skill. And that's impactful because sometimes we don't think about that. We just want to jump into addition and subtraction, and we forget there's another piece that students need to anchor themselves in to be successful in addition and subtraction. So it's a 3-day academy. They do pay teachers to go if it's their first time, and it's I feel like a pretty good stipend that the teachers can get.
Oh, well, good.
So we're really glad for that. It makes them kind of want to go a little more. It motivates them. But when they walk away, the stuff that they learn, I've heard every teacher that we've had already go in Crandall is like, wow, this was what I needed. I didn't realize these things, and it's going to make a difference when I teach my kids next year about these concepts. So we're hosting it in Crandall this year. I believe our date is July 8th, so it is a 3-day academy. I'm excited. I went to Austin for a week and got trained and certified myself to be one of the grade level presenters because I feel like it's that important. And if we have a teacher that can't make it to the official training days, I still have those tools to support them and kind of guide them for what they would have learned in Math Academy.
And as fast as we're growing and adding teachers, we're definitely going to need you for those last minute teacher adds with our growth. Well, that all sounds very exciting. I hope parents are listening and what all the math skills we are bringing home and how they can support that at home as well. And just ask the teacher, like, what can I do at home to help support my kid in math? So.
And just talk about numbers. Just talk when you're driving down the road or you're at a store or anything like that. Just talk about a number. If you have a number like 10, hey, what two numbers make 10? Are there a different set of numbers that make 10? How do you, when you are seeing these numbers to add, how does your brain think through that? Just getting them to talk about math is really huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And how it relates to life. I always did the grocery store with my kid. I remember that. So, all right. Well, we appreciate you coming on and telling us all about elementary math. And we have a series of episodes we're going to do, but this whole series was on the elementary, and so I appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Everybody else, tune in on Spotify, on our YouTube channel, on our social medias as we close out our elementary series and move on to our Teachers of the Year. Our 2 district Teachers of the Year are going to come on next, and we're going to hear all from them.
Thank you.